hey kid, you wanna buy a MiniTruck? I'm like, yeah. I'm here to install. That's factory. There's another one up here, just for good measure, held on with wire. We got over here the battery with your standard hole melted into it. That's good. Let's see if this thing starts today. Sure. Sounds good. Hey. Two wipers work. Off to a good start. That's fine. For the longest time, there's been a part of me that has wanted to buy another MiniTruck. There's this voice in the back of my head. Hey kid, you wanna buy a MiniTruck? I'm like, yeah. I don't know why. It's a sickness. I've actually owned a ton of MiniTrucks. It's pretty much kind of, I wouldn't say it's exactly what got me into cars, but it's kind of like the natural progression of where I went with cars. I think that's why I'm so into the Utes, because I think it's funny to take a car and kind of turn it into a MiniTruck, but I have to admit that the Ute is still not really a MiniTruck, mostly because it's front-wheel drive. And, you know, a lot of the things that you want to do with a MiniTruck, you just can't do in a little front-wheel drive car, even if you did cut the back off of it and turn it into a bed. So I've had a million Rangers, maybe not a million, it might be an exaggeration a little bit, but I've had a bunch of Ford Rangers, mostly the second generation, kind of a square body Ford Ranger. I've also had some Toyota pickups, mostly third gen Toyota pickups, although I've always wanted a second gen, but they are pricey. And I've had one Nissan Hardbody before. One of my buddies has one that he's had for years. He's a really big fan of it. And we always kind of joke about getting matching MiniTrucks. And I had some money laying around, and I was thinking to myself, dang it, I want to buy a MiniTruck again. I've been watching a lot of Puddin's Fab Shop lately. Shout out to Puddin, he makes great content. And you know, watching him do all the things that he does with mini trucks and the Yeehaw just makes me want to get a mini truck, and a proper one, not a little ute. But I really wanted a manual transmission 4-cylinder mini truck. I did look at Toyotas again and try to find a good deal on a Toyota, but I just could not find one. And kind of last minute yesterday, it was Saturday, I was sitting at home just on Facebook Marketplace and OfferUp, and I saw this thing popped up. The entire ad said, "Está bien." It's good. So I messaged the guy and I was like, hey, you know, this thing, does it have any problems? What motor? What transmission? Would you take $800 less than your asking price? And he came back to me and he said, oh, it's a 4-cylinder, 5-speed, no problems, and I'll take $400 less than my asking price. And I was like, well, I had $400 less than his asking price, so I recruited my buddy Mark. We drove down to Salem to look at it, and upon looking at it, I immediately realized that it was not as pretty as it had been in the photos. In the photos, it looked mint, and in person, it looks, well, less so. But the paint is actually pretty good for how old it is. The body is pretty straight. Most of the issues are, I'd say, minor. For one thing, the interior is pretty gross and kind of mismatched and hacked together. Look, we got these speaker install. That's factory. There's another one up here, just for good measure, held on with wire. There's one over there, but you can't see it from my tool bag. There was a headrest that they had cut a hole in and put a speaker in that as well. Of course, there's no stereo, so I don't know why you need all these speakers. And the seats, well, it's there. You can tell what this thing smells like, even if you can't smell it. I can. No hate on cigarette smokers, but I quit smoking cigarettes a couple years ago, and I think that the people who hate cigarette smoke the worst are people who used to smoke. It's just a thing with your senses that when you stop smoking, the smell of it kind of brings back all those bad memories. Reminds you of when you did used to smoke. I don't know, it's hard to explain. We'll just pop the hood here so you guys can take a look at some more Está bien. Yeah, you got yourself the old hot air intake right on the headers with a bunch of I don't even know. I'm a tape aficionado, and I could not tell you what kind of tape this is. We got over here the battery with your standard hole melted into it. That's good. That's what you want. Somehow this still works. Holds the charge and everything. We'll be replacing that though. We got a E-fan that someone decided to hack in here. They had to cut apart the old coolant reservoir because you got your coolant reservoir over here. So you got this one that they just hacked the top off of so the radiator hose could clear. Yesterday, before I even drove this thing home, I hacked out a bunch of wiring. There was a ton of wiring just in this area. You can still see some of the remnants. This is to the fan. I don't think the fan is even hooked up. I think it's just cooling by airflow right now, because I don't think the fan is even doing anything. So yeah, I did drive this thing home from, well, I actually went from Salem to drop off my buddy Mark up in North Portland, and then drove it home. So I put probably at least over 100 miles on this thing yesterday, so it does drive. I don't know if you can tell this on the camera. It's also kind of listing, just a little bit. I don't think the camera's gonna pick it up, but it leans to the passenger side just a little more than it does the driver's side. So probably something with the way that it's lowered. It's got blocks in the back. I don't see anything fancy up front, like lowering spindles or anything like that. I think that they just adjusted the torsion bars took all the spring out of it. I will say that it doesn't drive terrible for being a lowered mini truck. I've certainly driven worse. It came on these wheels too, which are actually not bad. This is gonna sound dumb, but one of the reasons that I wanted a Nissan MiniTruck is because it's 6-lug, and I have a bunch of 6-lug wheels laying around from having a bunch of Toyotas. I have basically 3 sets of extra Toyota wheels, including that set of BBS TRD wheels that came off the Sequoia that are 18x9. And I was thinking to myself that they'd be pretty cool on a mini truck, because if you lowered it down and put it over the 18s. And that's kind of been one of my ideas kicking around in my head for a while, is I was like, dang, I really want to buy a hardbody and just see if those wheels look cool on there. You're probably thinking, what kind of an idiot buys a truck just for a set of wheels that he already owns? And you're looking at them. That's me, yeah. Yep. But honestly, I really like these Nissan wheels, and they're 15s. And I try to keep all my rigs on 15s because I have a lot of 15-inch tires. So I may not even do that now. I may just enjoy the truck as it is and not mess with it. I do have a hunch there's something wrong with the suspension. It's got a little bit of like it's got some weirdness for sure. So I'm gonna have to look into that. Also, the headlights only work on high beam. The tail lights don't work at all. The running lights don't work at all. The heat works though, and the windshield wipers work. So, I mean, those are pretty important. All in all, it works okay. One of the biggest issues that it has is that the throttle pedal sticks. I'm not sure if it's the pedal or the cable. I think it might be the cable. It doesn't stick with the throttle depressed. It sticks when you let off of the throttle. It sticks in like the closed position. So then when you want to get back on the throttle again, you kind of have to stomp on it to get it to unstick, and then you can go back to driving. And when you stomp on it with the clutch out, obviously it jerks and lurches forward. So then most of the time I push the clutch in, jam the throttle pedal to get it unstuck, and then let the clutch back out, which is kind of hard on the clutch and also hard on the legs. That was a long drive yesterday, and by the end of it, my legs were getting whooped. So that needs addressed, definitely. It's super annoying, even if it doesn't get any worse. And obviously my concern also is that it could get worse eventually, and the throttle could start sticking, you know, on, which would be bad. But for now, the thing does run and drive. I got a pretty good deal on it. I wouldn't say it was a screaming deal considering it has my raid issues, but and I think it's not as bad as it looks. I think a lot of this stuff could be fixed with some tidying up the wiring and maybe look into the suspension a little bit. I did put a little bit of WD-40 on the throttle pedal yesterday, and it did seem to help. So it's possible that I might just throw some more lube on that a couple times and it might solve that issue. It might just be corroded and sticky. But yeah, that's the new mini truck. It's a 91, so it has the KA24 motor in it, which is well, it's the better one. It's got a little bit more guts than the older carbureted style. The same is true of Toyotas. I've had a 22R and I've driven a 22RE, and the difference between them is immense. And it's nothing against carburetors, but the EFI ones just have more guts. And I mean, we're talking about some pretty gutless mini trucks anyways, so if you can get a little bit of extra guts out of them, it's nice. Yeah, I was planning on working on this thing today. Yesterday it was beautiful out, the sun was shining, everything was melted off, like it was amazing outside. I woke up this morning and it was snowing. So yeah, I'm pretty much an idiot. Probably shouldn't buy rear-wheel drive mini trucks when you live on a mountain in the wintertime. But you know, that little voice in my head, hey kid, you want to buy a mini truck? Yeah, shoot it. Well, here we are. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Stay tuned for more mini truck content. I'm definitely thinking I'm gonna hang on to this for a little while and just tinker on it. I got some things I'd like to do to it. first thing is to get all the lights working, replace the battery, fix the wiring. I think I might go back to a mechanical fan. I'm pretty sure these came with a mechanical fan on the engine, and I just prefer the reliability and the simplicity of a mechanical fan to the E-fan that's all butchered in there. It's a nice idea, but you know, I don't think a mechanical fan robs too many horsepower from the old Nissan MiniTruck anyways. If you enjoy this video, enjoy my channel, please remember to like and subscribe to my channel, and feel free to leave comments. I don't get many comments, but when I do, I try to respond. I give people answers. People ask me the same questions all the time, but I don't get tired of giving you a quick answer and letting you know what I think about things. But that's going to be all for today, and I hope you guys enjoyed. See you later.